Who are you and what's your book and what's your best advice?
Well, Phil, my book is 100 Proven Ways to Acquire and Keep Clients for Life, just released March 12th. And it really puts you on the proven path for permanent business success. Now, the best advice I ever got was from someone that said, Richard, the thing is, you see things from the consumer's point of view. You should market that. That was great advice. I built our entire business for 30 years, consulting, coaching. I've spoken over 4,000 times on platforms uh, because of the ability to see what the people in a stucco house are thinking and convert it into prescriptive tactics. The worst advice I ever got was you can talk, speak to anybody, anytime, anywhere about anything. And that was the worst advice. And I began to realize I need to stay where my strength is, which is understanding consumer, turning it into prescriptive tactics so people could use it. I don't need to be out there talking about how to be a better listener or how to be a better communicator or how to, arrange flowers or how to build a house. Those are the things I'm not have any skill about. I do know the difference between an American head screwdriver and a Phillips head, but we're going to stop right there. So the best advice, take your knowledge and that gift that God's given you to market and help companies figure it out. We've worked in all kinds of industries, financial services, hospitality, NFL teams, fast food. It's a long construction companies, et cetera. But the worst advice was you can just talk about anything. You probably can, but most people don't want to listen to it.
That's funny, Richard. That's very good. Well, congratulations on what's soon to be another bestseller. It's a great book. So congratulations. I got a PDF. Tina sent me a PDF ahead. I can't wait to get my physical copy. I know you got them now. So that's
Yeah,
exciting.
finally.
So yeah, finally, right? So tell me, you said 30 plus years ago you got this advice. Who was it, Richard, that poured that into your head and into your heart to help you focus on that? Do you remember?
Yeah, oh, very clearly. It was. I was in the Rolls Royce business. I was general sales manager of a Rolls Royce dealership, and we built the third largest Rolls Royce dealership network in the United States. And he was the dealer principal. His name was Howard Van Bortle, and he's passed away now. But Howard told me when I got into the business of speaking, et cetera, and he said, Richard, just you have that unique ability to see things from the consumers. And then he went on, the other person's point of view. And he said, I've asked you to explain it. You can never explain it. You just somehow see it. And I was at a conference in Albuquerque this weekend with sort of a mastermind thing that they asked me to attend. And at the end, they were like, how do you see so? Well, it's not me. It's just a gift that I can just see the consumer's point of view. It's like branding. People always say, well, let me tell you how I think we should be positioned in the marketplace. My point is, who cares what you think you ought to do to get positioned in the marketplace? Let's go talk to the customers out there you're going to reach and find out how they think you ought to be positioned. And it's always like, yeah, that works. That's how I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Like how do you get in front of the customer to ask them those questions, Richard?
Well, I did it, and because of our consulting and my speaking and, coaching business, I've been very blessed to be able to talk to consumers and all different types of products, services, et cetera, in our branding and our consulting work. And I ask people, what is it that turns you into a delighted advocate, or what makes you satisfied? And what I discovered was 20 to 30% of people in almost every business are satisfied, but they're not delighted. Well, that was like a ding. Like, wait a minute. If they're satisfied, are they loyalty neutral? And it turns out when I then did follow-up questions, and my team did, well, you're satisfied, but would you move to another firm? Oh, yeah, absolutely. If these people continue to treat me like an account, if they don't really know my name, if I feel like they're taking advantage of me, if they don't make it a very user-friendly experience and make me feel like I'm in the right place, of course I will move. Well, then it dawned on me, wait a minute, what we've got to do is find out what do they want us to do to become delighted advocates for the company. And that's how I ended up with 100 proven ways. And it really boils down to a couple of things, and we can talk about that. But at the core of how do you get in front of people and how do you fill your pipe and how do you really, shall we say, keep clients for life, you've got to elevate the experience. There's 4 E's. Elevate the experience, build emotional engagement, and you got them. And no amount of competitive dollars is going to move them. But if you don't elevate the experience consistently, well, good luck.
So
Yes.
elevate the experience. What break that down for us, Richard? What does that actually mean? If I'm a salesperson, tell me what that means.
That's why you're so good, Phil. Because most people say, okay, great, elevate the experience. You did what I did.
Yeah, what's that mean, man?
Because I've heard that, people say, well, we need to elevate the experience and stand on the stage. And if you were, or, if you communicated better and took some of the friction out of the journey. And I'm like, I don't want them on a journey. I want them to come to my place and stay for life. That's it. I ain't interested in helping them along the journey in that regard. Reduce the friction. I mean, yet the customer service person, are you reducing the friction? They're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So I began to ask people, what does an elevated experience mean to you? And their comment was very simple. It's the impression I get if I'm with the right firm and with the right provider. And then I said, okay, but how can you assess that? And that was the breakthrough for me. They said, well, we want someone who personalizes and humanizes every interaction. Well, those are big words. What does that mean? I think we could all figure out personalized. But that's when I got the aha moment. And that's when I began to write.
Okay.
Because in talking to literally over 1,000 people in all kinds of, probably you name an industry, we worked there at some level, from medical to whatever. But this was the watershed moment when people said, aggregate, we want a provider and someone that's thoughtful, that'll slow down enough and really think about us. Secondly, we want someone that's kind, that'll go to the extra step on our behalf. Thirdly, we want somebody in a company that cares enough to find out what we really want, help us get it. And fourth, somebody empathetic enough that we feel comfortable that we don't have to be defensive, but we can share really what's important to us. So in summary, what is an elevated experience? It's consistently, as an organization, as a person, not orchestrating, demonstrating thoughtfulness, kindness, caring, and empathy. And when you do that, they become delighted advocates. And then they become brand ambassadors for you in the community. And I've talked and worked with many companies where they have made this transition. And Phil, it is remarkable how much business gets sent their way through positive word of mouth and social media and all the other things everybody loves to talk about. Because what the real centers of influence are the people that are delighted advocates walking down the street carrying a banner said, you need to be doing business with these people. Or they're at a lunch and somebody said, I need to get this and this and that. Oh, you need to see my gal. You need to go. I'll tell you who I used, and they were fabulous. Well, that kind of a center of influence, that's just free client acquisition. I mean, what's the cost there? Oh, well, the cost is you've got to have the mindset of what you want the experience your customer is going to have. That's the first thing you got to do. But there's no real cost to that. I was asked recently on a television interview on Fox. They asked me that very question. How much does it cost to really become client-centric? Number one, you got to be open to new ideas. Number two, you've got to be willing to make some changes. And thirdly, you got to raise your hand and say, help. If you do that, you'll get there. Is that helpful?
That's helpful. Let's dive in. Let's dive a little deeper, though. Open to change. I mean, what sorts of change are you talking about, Richard? Is this like throw everything out and start over?
Yeah.
Where are we going here?
Wonderful. Yeah. And you know what? I get those. I had a call with a CEO a couple of weeks ago. So he said, we're going to change our entire matrix. And he gives me this line. It was like, why? Well, we want to become more customers. I said, stop. Just stop. Let's back up and get down to the foundation of human relationships. So you want to make some changes? Well, let's start with changing the way you sign your emails. Let's not have best. It's the number one disliked signature of all when people just say best. I mean, you can't imagine the people on my interns talk to and said, best what? Best for them? Best for me. People were annoyed by that. They think it's just institutional. The second one is sincerely yours. They know that's institutional. So then we ask, well, what would you like? Well, warm regards or kind regards or even best regards would be nice. Oh, another one. Instead of feel free to call, feel welcome to call. Now, I mentioned this at a conference of some top producers in an industry, the top 50 in Dallas at a very special mastermind they were doing. They asked me to come in and keynote the event. And I did. And I mentioned that point in a Q&A session. About a month later, I was in New York, and one of the guys that was in that session in Dallas is there with his 2 daughters who also are in the business with him. Long story short, we get to the Q&A. I like to do Q&A after a keynote if we have time. And they ran to the microphone and said, Mr. Weylman, my dad came back and said we should say, feel welcome to reach out and call instead of feel free. And we're in Long Island, and we actually have people call us and thank us for putting feel welcome to call. So what happened? Impact. People read it and they understand it. Another thing is know their name. If their name's Elizabeth, is it Beth or Betty or Elizabeth or Liz? Or like my friend in Atlanta, it's Lolly. Why is it Lolly? It's Lolly because when she was a little girl, her grandfather gave her lollipops and called her Lolly. She's been Lolly her whole life. She's very wealthy and she's in her 70s. And she fired her financial advisor, well, didn't even hire him, that wanted to have her business. And he kept calling her Elizabeth and Beth. She said, my name is Lolly. He said, oh, that's a funny name. She said, what do you mean? He said, well, nobody would call anybody Lolly. That was the end of that meeting. So T. Boone Pickens never went by T. My first initial is C. I get lots of emails, dear C. I don't answer those. I don't even read them because I know they don't know me. So those are just a couple of things. Another thing, when you meet somebody, don't say, nice to meet you. It's nice to see you. It's more gracious, warming, and people are like, oh, nice to see you too. Plus, it puts you in a position when you do that people, I don't know about you, but I've done this, Bill, where I'd say, hey, nice to meet you. And they go, well, actually, we met before. Well, that takes all that off the table and it changes that. I mean, I'm just giving you a couple of things that I put in the book, but the reason I did is because this is what people, forget about what I think. This is what the people in the marketplace today are looking for. Kindness, thoughtfulness, caring, and empathy. So if you communicate with them and not at them, sign me up.
Wow. That's so simple and feels so obvious, Richard, yet so many don't do it. Do you think they don't do it because it's hard or because they don't know? Or what do you think?
Well, I can tell you exactly what I've discovered. Most organizations, and people say, well, you shouldn't be slamming leaders. Well, okay, snap out of it. I'm not slamming anybody. I'm just telling you the reality. Reality is teams sit around. I get invited to these meetings. I'd like to audit the process we're going to put in place. I just had one in the Midwest. Great one. They spent millions doing surveys and hired this firm. Great. But when they were all said and done, they were going to go forward with a platform to elevate the experience based on what they thought would work. My first question is, how many of your actual customers did you interview? Well, what do you mean? That's well, how many of your customers do you actually interview? And therein lies the problem. It's twofold. Number one, the reason a lot of people don't do it is because they're not necessarily aware of it. Necessarily. So what do? They go with what they think is going to work without any consideration for what really will work or resonate. And then the second big one is a lot of companies make adjustments based on customer satisfaction surveys. We love them. Let's send out a customer satisfaction survey and we get it back and everybody sits there, look at the satisfaction levels. They're just 82%. But what they're not aware of is that's a look backwards. Are you satisfied with past transactions, opportunities, and connections? It's not a look forward. And they'll often put, what else can we do? And people will fill that in. You can do this and that. But nobody goes and implements that because they're just happy they get this big score. The truth of the matter is that if you're going to be effective, here's what you need to do. You need to talk to your clients every year. Your customers simply ask one question. What are 3 things we can do to improve your experience here? Now, I know a situation now. They've called me. CEO's a little freaked out. They got 83% satisfaction scores last year. They lost 13,000 clients.
Wow.
Got it?
83%.
83%
lost 13,000 clients.
But 13,000 clients left the firm. Now, it's a huge firm. I mean, when you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That's not the point, is it? Here's the point that got missed. Is the LTV of the long-term value. If you're in an air conditioning business and I get this thing serviced for 30 years, I own this house, that's long-term value of my lifetime value, I call it. Lifetime value of a customer or a client. So you want to elevate the experience so you get them. And then you want to what? Make sure you emotionally engage with them so you keep them. So you cultivate and you stay in touch with them. And, people say, well, I had a couple of CEOs tell me recently, well, our frontline people don't have time to be gathering all this data. We want you to smooth out the process for all. I'm like, okay, first you can hire more people. Don't do what American Airlines did and just fired 650 customer service people and going to plug us into AI. That's fantastic. So you get on the phone and go, representative, and you still can't get an answer. Great move. So the reality is what you have to do is put your brakes on and say, okay, what is experience we want our people to have, our customers? It's a one line. It's not a paragraph. It's not a mission statement. Excuse me. It's one line. Jeff Bezos, everybody looks at that picture of him in his office on his old style computer starting Amazon and say, oh my God, he was persistent. No, because what they don't see was posted on the wall. Nobody looks at that. My vision is to build the most customer-centric company in the world. That's what he focused on, and that's what his team tries to deliver every day. That's the beauty. So you want to cultivate, stay in touch with people, and cultivate. I can give you an example of a donut shop here in Sarasota, Florida. It's unbelievable what this girl's done.
Well, tell me about that, Richard, because I was just going to ask, like, how do we actually stay in touch, right? You're talking about the process is not what needs to be smoothed over, but now you're talking about, okay, so we need to keep in touch. How do we do that, Richard?
All right. So I'll give you an illustration, and everybody listening to this should think about their business and what do they deliver? Air conditioning service, financial plans, life insurance, bought a house, bought a car. You don't know. You tell me. Restaurant came in and made reservations. You got their email address. Okay, fine. We're good. You got the phone number. Great. Are you putting that in your CRM? Well, it's not a CRM. It should be a CXM, customer experience management system. Put their phone number. What would they order? What did they like? When did they get the service? When did they make their first purchase? So a little donut shop in Sarasota, Florida, right next to the police station, and it's named 50 Donuts. Pretty good name.
Yeah.
Their promise is arrestingly good donuts. Not bad. And if you buy a donut, you become a member of the squad. So they've carried that entire theme through. But now they have 7 locations in Florida. And if you're there at 5:30 in the morning, you got your choice. By 7:30 in the morning, they are sold out. It's a little tiny donut shop. And it's not all the police officers. I mean, people are lined up 7 days a week. They line up. They start at about 5 in the morning, lining up to buy donuts. They're unbelievable. But you know what makes them unbelievable?
What's that?
This is 2024. I bought my first donut. I'm not a donut guy, but I bought my first donut when they opened August 4th, 2019. He said, well, how do you remember August 4th? Because every August 4th, I get a text. Congratulations, squad member, for another year of loyal customer. $5 off your next donut. Every August 4th. But I can buy a life insurance policy for $1 million and never hear from that agent again. I can get my air conditioner service and have to call them to remind them I need it serviced again. So the reality is, how do you stay in touch? Log that information and send them congratulations for another successful. I'll give you another one. I work with several real estate companies. Keller Williams, as you probably know, Barbara Corcoran's company, and one of her teams, 97th in the country. They're now 5th. And what do? Well, when people bought a house, they would send them a round cake. Congratulations. I looked at it. They said, see, we sent a cake. Said, so? Yeah, but it's a cake. I said, yeah, but it could be congratulations or anything. Why don't you put on that cake, keep it round if you want to, make it square, but make the outline of a house and put their new address on it and put congratulations on your dream home. And they said, oh my God, we'll send it to their house. I said, no, we send it to their office. So when they're sitting there in the break room eating it, people come in and say, oh my God, where'd you get the cake? Oh, my realtor sent it. They send it every year. Congratulations, I know you're enjoying your home. What do you think happens? Somebody comes in from and they go, oh, where'd you get the cake? I'll give you another illustration. I have a financial advisor I shared that with. So she started dropping cakes to all of her clients on her anniversary date. It's great. She went to bakemeawish.com and sent them a cake. One of her clients is in the break room eating his cake at the office. Everybody comes in. This woman comes in and said, where'd you get the cake from? And he said, I got it from my financial advisor. She sends it to me every year on our anniversary of when we first did business for the last 9 years. She's like, Really? You know, my husband died 6 months ago, and I'm just freaked out. I don't know what to do about that. She starts crying. So he dials and he hands the phone. He said, here, talk to my advisor, and handed the phone to this woman. $1.2 million life insurance policy had to cash in the bank. She moved her business to this advisor, all because a cake went to the office to celebrate the relationship.
Well, it's not because of the cake, though. To your point, right? It's all about thoughtfulness and caring and kindness and empathy. It's not about the cake.
Right. It's not about the cake at all, but it's because they were thoughtful, kind, caring, and empathetic, and sent a cake to celebrate that relationship that people said, hey, Martha, talk to my advisor.
Wow.
What was the cost of acquisition? It was $38.
Yeah, right. $40. Okay. Yep.
Nothing. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, then.
Nothing. So with that, Richard, in the book, you've got lots of great tips, but let's get kind of closer to the end here of the book. And let's talk about how do we let people know that we value them? I mean, is it just about the cake, or are there other ways that we have to show them that we value them? Because I think that is something that's often missing. We become a customer and maybe we get the automated Christmas card, but that doesn't show me that you value me. Right. I want to see real value. And frankly, I'm not exactly sure how I would even ask for that value. So how do we do that, Richard?
Well, you have to demonstrate, not talk to straight. It's not to say we value you. I mean, that sounds nice. It's nice. And we feel really good about sending that message out. But the truth is, they're like, yeah, they value us. Okay, so why don't they return my calls? Why isn't when I call there, I always get voicemail? Why doesn't the assistant say, I'm sorry, Bruce, Phil is on another line, but he will be free this afternoon between 2 and 4 o'clock. Let's make a phone appointment so he can get back to you at the time that's good for you. Oh, they value my time. Thank you. So that's as an illustration. There are many other things you can do to send special notes on special days. If you go to the professional calendar, if you will, every day is a celebration of something. Nurses, doctors, all these, incredible every day. So what to do? You should send special notes. You got Mother's Day coming up here. And a lot of people get Mother's Day cards. I have an organization that I consult with and coach in Amarillo, Texas. And they were going to send Mother's Day cards last year. I said, why? They said, well, we're just going to send Mother's Day cards to everybody we think is a mother. I was like, okay, let's put the brakes on here a minute. If they get Mother's Day cards, they're going to open and say, well, that was nice. I said, why don't you just pick up your phone and shoot a video? Just want to send a quick message to you, say Happy Mother's Day to you and Happy Mother's Day to your mother. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be of service to you. Have a blessed time. Bye for now. Got shared 44,000 times on Facebook. But guess what? When they got that email, they're like, oh my God. Because in that email was this wonderful voice message from that company's CEO, just basically saying, I value you without saying I value you. Those are the kind, and I've got chapters on this, but there's so many things you can do. How about for a prospect that says, well, I don't want to buy right now, or the timing's not really good for me. How do you show them value? Or how about if they just say no? That would be a no. Are you clear? It's a no. Okay. Well, years ago, it dawned on me, wait a minute. They're saying no, not now. But I don't think they're saying no, not ever. So I start sending thank you notes for saying no. It's in my book. You can look at that, but I'll just reiterate it to you. And I'll tell you a quick story behind it. I just send a point. Disappointed, not sorry. Watch your words. I'm disappointed we're unable to do business now. Notice, not forever. I'm disappointed we're unable to do business now, period. I look forward to working and serving you in the future. Always feel welcome to call. Warmest regards, Richard. Well, this January, I spoke at a conference in Chicago 5 or 6 years ago. The CEO reached out. We couldn't put it in my schedule. It was wild. So I sent him a thank you. He said, no, we just can't make this work. I can't. And I had another one today. So I sent him a thank you note for saying no. So anyway, I'm in Chicago and speaking at his conference this year. It's the first year we were able to put it together. And he gets on stage. He said, before I introduce Richard, I want to read a note that he sent me. He kept that note for 5 years. He said, this guy sent me a note that he was disappointed we're unable to work together now. And I look forward to serving and speaking to your group in the future. Always feel welcome to call. He said, I kept it on my desk under the glass, and I thought, when the year's right, I'm going to call this guy. And that's how he's here. And I just had this happen today. The guy got the note for an April event. I'm already booked. I can't do it. His assistant called, and she just said, Earl understands. He's very disappointed. We're going to have a fall meeting. Would you do September 19th for us? Now, what does that cost? A postage stamp and 5 minutes to write a note. Is that helpful, Phil?
Yeah. 5 minutes, right? But I would say that's a definite mindset shift from people, right? That's a definite mindset shift. So how do we help folks shift their mindset, Richard, and get it in the right mindset so that they can take your message? Because reading your book is great, but actually doing what's in your book is better. So how do we help them shift their mind?
Right. Jim Rohn, who was a good friend of mine, he passed away now, but his comment was, to know and not to do is just as good as not to know. And I think he got that somewhere too. But I remember him as the last one I heard it from. But I think the larger point is simply that the last chapter of the book, I talk specifically, how do you implement? You don't take 100 proven ways and say, we're going to do them all. So I give you a 90-day plan. Write down the things over the next 90 days, the 5 things you are going to put in place. Let's assess where you are now. I have an assessment tool. In fact, those that buy the book, right in the book, it says, go to my website, richardweylman.com, WEYLMAN.com. And you can click on the book, and all the tools in the book are listed, and you can download them all and use them to help assess where you are. How am I going to move forward? Here are the steps I'm going to take. I even give you the 90-day plan template so you can fill it in. You can talk to your team, and together you can start marching down this road. And if you do sequential 90-day plans, I'll tell you, a year from now, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked at how loyal, and you're going to have people advocating on your behalf. But to your point, how do you get the mindset? A good friend of mine, Bob Burke, who actually wrote the foreword for my book, he wrote a book called The Go-Giver. You may be familiar with it. And I would summarize his thoughts, and my thoughts are very much in agreement. The way you start to adopt new ideas is you got to realize that you adopt them not to get, but you adopt them to give and give again. And once you get the mindset that if I do this, I'll have the opportunity to do more of this, and I'm going to impact more people's lives. And when you do that, you start working on purpose, not pressure. Most salespeople, most companies are under pressure. We've got to make the sale. If they focused on people and not so much on product and platform and procedures and plans and all the P words, but focused on building relationships, there's no amount of competitive marketing dollars that will ever dislodge those people. Is that helpful?
That's awesomely helpful. So friends, if you're listening, if you're watching, I encourage you to get a copy of Richard's new book. Go to richardweylman.com. It's Richard like you'd expect it to be spelled, WEYLMAN.com. More than 100 proven strategies to keep a customer for life. That's the goal here, friends. If you want to prospect less, keep the customers you have. Listen to Richard. 4 things you need to do is be thoughtful. You need to care, have some kindness, and have some empathy. You can do this, my friends. Get this book. It'll change your life too. Thank you, Richard. This was great.
Thank you, Phil. They can get it at any bookstore. They can get it from my website. They can get it from Amazon. The important thing is here. Now, remember, when you get the book, you'll see it right in the book. When you see it, you'll say, oh, my God, here's a client communication chart that we can use to stay in touch with all of our customers for the entire year. And it's broken down month by month, everything to do. But, oh, my God, it's a PDF. I can't copy the book. No, you don't have to. It says right there, go to richardweylman.com, click download, and we'll give it to you as a Word document. You can make it your own. Yeah, it's free. It's free. Yeah, that's right. And if you want me to speak at your conference or you need consulting or coaching around these topics, feel welcome to reach. Remember, feel welcome, not feel free. Feel welcome to reach out. It's Richard Weylman, WEYLMAN.com. There's inquiry forms you can fill out. Just let me hear from you. I just want you to win. That's important. Thanks. Bill.
Absolutely. Let's get winning. Thanks, Richard.
My pleasure.